power play hidden behind the veil of democracy, and Pakistan's state hypocrisy. Zul Hakamir Khan. The existence of a state is based on a social contract where every institution, be it the judiciary, the legislature, or the military leadership, takes an oath to serve the public and uphold the country's constitution. But if you closely examine Pakistan's 70-year history, a painful and deep contradiction comes out. The institutions that were created for the people's protection, national security, and constitutional supremacy have, over time, started thinking of themselves as the owners of the state. They gave their supremacy over the elected houses, which represent the public, the status of an unwritten constitution. This is the main point where the definition of silent loyalty consciously becomes equal to treason, especially when that loyalty is not to the country's constitution, but to the interests of a few individuals within the institution. The first sign of this contradiction is the institution's self-imposed sanctity. It has been assumed that certain institutions are beyond any criticism. Questioning them or pointing out their failures is seen as a conspiracy against national security in a country where the public has the right to question their rulers and institutions. In some sectors, silence has been made the first condition of patriotism. The result of this silence is that the idea of constitutional equality has died out, and one institution has gained supremacy over all others, and the elected government that represents them. This attitude, which grew from Ayub Khan's martial law to the dark dictatorship of Zia el-Sheikh, kept hollowing out the roots of democracy. These walls of sanctity were actually put up to close the doors of transparency and accountability, ensuring that the decisions made inside, which directly affect millions of people, remain safe from public discussion. The question then is, what is this national interest for which democracy and truth are choked? It is often seen that the definition of national security or national interest is only made by the institutional leadership to protect their own benefits. Unannounced censorship is put on the media to suppress different opinions. Journalists are silenced, and the narrative is strictly controlled. Whenever the public's elected, leadership has tried to challenge this power, supremacy by the institutions. They have been disempowered through corruption charges, judicial decisions, or political engineering. It is an undeniable historical fact that even after being elected, the country's top political leaders were never fully allowed to run the country. The people who were actually running the system's wheel were behind the curtains, playing the game of disempowering elected representatives using a remote control. This institutional supremacy feels even more painful when you link it to the public's sacrifices. The country is buried under the burden of global loans. Inflation has broken the back of the common person, and the youth are disappointed by unemployment. Yet, a large part of the national treasury is spent on the privileges of the elite and certain institutions. Properties worth billions, luxury cars without tax, and extraordinary facilities are only reserved for those who control the system in the name of serving the country. The common citizen is asked to make sacrifices and is appealed to tolerate the massive hike in fuel and electricity prices. But when it comes to ending the privileges of the elite, all institutions become silent with one voice. This is the peak of hypocrisy, where the nation is divided into two parts, one who will sacrifice, and the other who will take the sacrifice. These institutions are actually stuck in a historical cycle that always leads to the same terrifying end. The main reason behind the separation of East Pakistan in 1971 was also that the decision makers in West Pakistan consistently ignored the elected mandate of East Pakistan and the opinion of their political leaders. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's Awami League was not given power despite having a majority, and the rigid and powerful policies of the institutions divided the country. This was a huge national tragedy from which it was mandatory to learn a lesson. But surprisingly, even after 1971, There has been no fundamental change in the thinking and attitude of the institutions. Every time democracy tried to take root, it was cut down through Zia-ul-Haq's Islamization or Musharraf's constitutional sabotage. To date, Pakistan is standing at a decisive turn. National security, economic stability, and political survival are directly connected to the institutions genuinely returning to their constitutional boundaries. The nation must reject this idea of silent loyalty, which forces them to hide the facts. True patriotism lies in the supremacy of the Constitution, respect for the people's elected mandate, and open accountability of institutions. Institutions need to understand that their power is in the trust of the public, not in the sanctity established on the basis of fear. Until all institutions recognize their role while staying within the Constitution and give full authority to the elected government, this country can neither become economically stable nor politically mature. Therefore, the time has come to end this deception of silent loyalty and adopt the path of conscious loyalty only to the Constitution of Pakistan and its people. I want to ask all of you one question. Is national interest really just the name of the interests of a few people? And finally, I want to tell my youth that no matter which fields you belong to, whether in politics or education, keep moving forward with your full strength and steadfastness. Life is a name for ups and downs. Circumstances never remain the same.